What if cars were regulated like guns in Canada? If Canadian politicians invented laws for vehicles the same way they've invented laws for firearms, would we be any safer? Let's examine this idea further by noting every regulation already existing that firearms owners must follow. We'll simply substitute vehicles when the law currently states firearms, and change relevant terms, such as fuel, for ammunition, when appropriate. Before you can legally purchase a car or any car parts, you must first show the seller your valid driver license. To purchase gasoline or diesel fuel, you must show the seller your valid driver license. In some provinces, the seller must write your name, address, and driver license number in a book kept near the fuel pump. Police may inspect the book at any time. Any employee of the fuel seller also has access to the book, meaning any friend or relative of any employee also has access. Often, the book is carelessly stored in public view so that anyone can look inside it. With the book, it's easy to learn where you live and what kinds of vehicles you own by seeing the type of fuel you're on record for purchasing. Therefore, the book is a license to steal your vehicles. Obtaining a driver license requires you to pass written and practical driving safety tests, answer in full detail questions about your state of mind, job history, and sexual history for the preceding 2 years. Police, RCMP, provincial, and local will interview your ex-spouse to see if he or she feels safe about your new intended vehicle purchase. Once your driver license is issued, your name is checked every 24 hours in a criminal database. If your name is flagged for any criminal investigation, even if not driving related, police will immediately confiscate all your vehicles. Then you'll have to make a case in a court of law proving why your license shouldn't be permanently revoked. When your car is confiscated, you cannot pay to get it out of the impound lot. You lose it for the period of the criminal investigation. It's unlikely you'll ever get it back. During this time, police may use and abuse any of your confiscated vehicles. Vehicles are classified by a person who knows nothing about vehicles into non-restricted, restricted, and prohibited categories. You are allowed to drive non-restricted cars if you observe legal restrictions. SUVs, vans, and work vehicles are placed in the restricted category. You can own one only if you provide a valid reason. A valid reason might be, my job requires the space. You must provide details of your job, and your manager must sign a waiver to prove you work at that location. I like this style of car is not a valid reason, nor is I have children valid, since you are stupid and selfish to have children while Mother Earth is dying. Before you can legally drive a restricted vehicle, you must apply for an authorization to drive, known as an ATD. Once issued, you must keep this paperwork with you, along with registration and insurance papers. The ATD only allows you to drive that vehicle to your work and back. You are expected to take direct routes. You are only allowed to drive your restricted vehicles to the approved areas that are specifically job-related as stated in the ATD issued to you. Driving your restricted vehicle to any place not expressly permitted, such as a coffee shop or grocery store, is a violation of the law. If caught, your vehicles will be confiscated and your driver license suspended until you beg forgiveness, prove your worthiness, and pay a lawyer lots of money. Before driving a restricted vehicle anywhere other than your work location as expressed in the ATD, you must call the federal bureaucracy and apply for another ATD. This includes driving to a garage for service, although in some provinces a written invitation from the garage or other location will suffice. You can be specially licensed to possess a motorcycle. Because motorcycles are dangerous, you must tow it on a trailer with a front wheel lock. You must go directly to the track without stopping. Regardless of how much training and experience you have or how fast the safe speed is of that track, you must not operate the motorcycle beyond provincial speed limits. When you return home from the track, the engine must be removed and secured in a locked case to prevent unauthorized access to joyriders and thieves. Sports cars and cool cars with V8 or turbocharged engines are prohibited. If you owned one before the legislation was passed, you can keep it, but you are not allowed to take it anywhere. It is strictly an ornamental piece in your garage. When you die, your heirs must surrender it to police for destruction. Vehicles such as Jeeps and Humvees are prohibited due to their military origins. Only military and police personnel have any valid need to own them. Cars that appear scary or dangerous to anyone are prohibited. This includes vehicles with features no legitimate driver needs, like spoilers, racing stripes, fancy wheels, and a shoulder thingy that goes up. Certain cars with high-powered engines, cup holders, adjustable seats, and retractable spoilers are deemed assault racers, which are prohibited. Classification is arbitrary at the whim of any scared RCMP bureaucrat. All vehicles are to be locked at the steering wheel when not in use. Non-restricted cars are legally stored with a steering wheel lock. Restricted vehicles must be stored inside a locked garage affixed with an electronic immobilizer and a boot on the front tire. Prohibited cars must also be stored like restricted cars, except they cannot be taken out of the garage under any circumstances. After every use of any vehicle, regardless of category, you must empty the fuel lines and detach the gas tank. Fuel tanks must be stored in another locked container separate from the vehicle. All vehicle fuel tank capacity is capped at 10 liters or less. There is no need for anyone to own high-capacity fuel tanks. Modifying a vehicle fuel tank or fuel line is a federal crime. If a manufacturer releases for public sale a fuel tank that also can fit a prohibited vehicle, then the RCMP may make that fuel tank a prohibited device retroactively. The RCMP interprets the law to mean that any gas tank capable of allowing any vehicle to carry more than 10 liters of fuel is a prohibited device, even if it happens to fit into a different vehicle than the one for which it was made. The RCMP has final say in this regard, and there is no means to appeal these arbitrary bureaucratic decisions. Self-serve fuel stations are prohibited to prevent you from using the nozzle as a flamethrower. That this has occurred only in movies is irrelevant. Only trained and licensed fuel dispersion personnel are permitted to serve fuel. High-beam headlights are prohibited as they can blind people. Modifying headlights to be high-beam capable is a federal crime. Fully automatic or sequential transmissions are prohibited because they allow the vehicle to accelerate too rapidly. All gear shifting will be accomplished with one press of the clutch pedal, followed by a deliberate working of the stick shifter. Modifying a transmission or shifting mechanism is a federal crime. Mufflers are prohibited. Silenced vehicles are only used by criminals to sneak up on unsuspecting victims. Only police and military can possess mufflers because only assassins need silent vehicles. All vehicle speeds are capped at provincial speed limits. Exceeding the 100 km/h limit is a federal crime. Modifying a vehicle so it can exceed a speed limit is also a federal crime. It is illegal to use a vehicle in self-defense. When in danger or facing criminals, it is illegal to jump into a car and drive away. You must acquiesce to the criminal's demands. If you do not, police will charge you with multiple offenses, and Crown prosecutors will spare no expense to convict you. It is a federal offense to drive your car to a public meeting. Being charged with any infraction, such as letting your license expire or driving a car to a location for which you do not have a valid ATD, will result in immediate criminal charges and confiscation of your vehicles. You're unlikely to get them back, and if it was a prohibited car, forget it. It's gone forever. It will either be destroyed or possibly stolen and used by police. Yes, police have used the law to steal from otherwise law-abiding Canadians. Upon conviction, all your vehicles will be confiscated. If some criminal misuses a car model that is currently non-restricted and the media makes a big deal about it, the government or RCMP bureaucrats can arbitrarily declare that vehicle type restricted or prohibited and confiscate yours without compensation. Your wife or girlfriend can call the toll-free number at any time to tell the bureaucrat that she thinks you might drink and drive. Police will then confiscate your driver license and all your vehicles. Despite this being mere accusation, with police acting on hearsay evidence, it will take you months, if not years, and as much as $60,000 in legal fees to force return of your license and vehicles. These laws are reasonable and perfectly coherent with a society founded on peace, order, and good government. We hope we can count on you to support these measures in order to make the public interest the government's priority rather than the interests of a loud minority of opponents of car control. Sincerely, the Prime Minister and members of the Liberal Party who know nothing about firearms except they're scary, which is all we need to know. Now, if you agree that vehicle owners must follow the same regulations as firearm owners, do nothing. If your emotional fear of firearms overrules your brain, do nothing. If you prefer logic over emotion, then tell politicians you want these stupid laws changed so that the safest segment of society, which is law-abiding firearms owners, isn't subject to the whim of every crybaby politician and bureaucrat.